I've lived 50 years of life, and after all this time, people often ask me the same question. How did you become successful? Some expect a complicated answer. They expect me to talk about discipline, intelligence, or some secret strategy. But the truth is far simpler. One habit quietly changed everything in my life. I stopped telling people my plans. It wasn't an easy choice at first, because most of us grow up believing that sharing our dreams brings support, encouragement, motivation, and for a long time, I believed that too. My name is Marcus Hale, and I am 50 years old. I have learned through experience, through mistakes, through years of quiet work, that real progress, real growth, real success often happen in silence, away from attention, away from noise, away from the approval of others. And the moment you truly understand this, your life begins to move in a completely different direction. When I was younger, I was full of ideas. Every month I had a new plan, a new goal, a new vision for my future. And every time I felt excited about something, I immediately shared it with the people around me. Friends, family, sometimes even strangers at a dinner table. I believed that talking about my dreams would make them more real, that sharing them would create energy, accountability, momentum. But something strange always happened. The moment I talked about my plans, my motivation quietly faded. At the time, I couldn't understand why. Years later, I discovered something fascinating from psychology. Research by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer showed that when people announce their goals publicly, their brain often receives a sense of accomplishment too early. Talking about the goal can create the same psychological reward as actually achieving it. And once the brain feels that reward, the urgency to work quietly disappears. Without realizing it, I had been celebrating success before doing the work. But there was another problem, one that was harder to see at first. Every time I shared a plan, I also invited opinions. And opinions, even well-meaning ones, can be dangerous. I remember hearing things like, "That sounds very risky. Are you sure that's realistic? Maybe you should choose something safer." Most of those people were not trying to hurt me. They cared about me. They wanted to protect me. But their doubts slowly planted seeds of doubt inside my own mind. The writer Mark Twain once said, "Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you too can become great." I did not fully understand those words when I was young, but I lived them. The environment around you has enormous power. Not because people are cruel, but because doubt is contagious and confidence is fragile, especially when a dream is still small and unproven. One evening, I sat alone and noticed a pattern in my own behavior. Every time I talked about a goal, I felt a sense of pride, almost as if something had already been achieved. People would ask questions, show interest, give encouragement, and that small reaction gave me a strange feeling of satisfaction. But the truth was uncomfortable. Nothing had actually been built yet. No progress had been made. Not a single step had been taken. I had been filling myself with the feeling of success, without doing the work that creates it. Psychologist Carl Jung once wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart." In other words, real clarity does not come from the reactions of others. It comes from sitting with yourself, in silence, and doing the work. That evening, I made a quiet decision. From that point forward, I would stop announcing my plans and start executing them. What I didn't expect was how much clearer my mind became. When you stop explaining your goals to everyone around you, something shifts inside your thinking. You stop rehearsing stories about what you will do, and you start actually doing it. The energy that once went into conversations, into justifying your ideas, defending your choices, seeking approval, all of that energy came back to me. I used it for learning. I used it for building. I used it for becoming someone who knew what they were doing. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." When I first read those words, I thought they were harsh, but the more I lived in silence, the more I understood them. Real knowledge does not need an audience. Real progress does not need a witness. It only needs time and consistent effort. Silence alone is not enough. What made the real difference was what I did inside that silence. I stopped waiting for the right moment. I stopped waiting for encouragement. I stopped waiting for people to believe in me before I believed in myself. Instead, every single day, I did something small that moved me forward. Some days it was 30 minutes of learning a new skill. Some days it was writing down one new idea. Some days it was simply showing up, even when I didn't feel like it. Psychologist William James once said, "Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action." Those words became very personal to me, because I had spent years feeling motivated, but not moving. And once I started moving quietly, every single day, without telling anyone, something remarkable slowly began to happen. Years passed, and then something unexpected began happening. People started noticing changes in my life. The same people who once questioned my ideas began asking different questions. How did this happen? When did all this change? Why didn't you tell us what you were working on? I remember a conversation with an old friend. He looked at what I had built over the years and said, "I had no idea you were even working on this." And I smiled, because that was exactly the point. Nobody had seen the early mornings. Nobody had seen the failures that never made it into a conversation. Nobody had seen the months when nothing visible was happening, but something was always happening beneath the surface. There is a tree in Japan called the Japanese white pine. It can grow for 30 to 40 years underground, building a root system so deep and strong that when it finally rises above the soil, almost nothing can stop it. That is what working in silence can do for a person. The results appear to others as sudden, but they are the product of years of invisible effort. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. If you have a dream right now, something you want to build, create, or become, I am not telling you to be secretive out of fear. I am not telling you to distrust the people who love you. I am telling you to protect your dream the way you would protect something precious. During the time when it is most fragile, a seed does not announce itself before it grows. A river does not ask permission to find the sea, and the most powerful version of you does not need an audience while becoming. Today, I am 50 years old, and when I look back at my journey, I can see something with complete clarity. The years that produced the most meaningful change in my life were the years when I worked the most quietly. No announcements, no attention, no audience, just effort, repeated every day, in the direction of something I believed in. So if you are holding a dream right now, keep it close. Work on it today. Work on it tomorrow. Work on it when nobody is watching. Especially when nobody is watching. Improve yourself quietly. Build without permission. Move forward without applause. Because one day, when the results finally appear, you will not need to explain anything. Your success will speak for you.